everyone. I want to kind of talk about another shipwreck hunt that we did. This one you'll actually have information on. This one I found already. I found it about 2 years ago, but I wanted to kind of show you the process of what we did to find it. This is the Elva, or the Glad Tidings. So she started off as the Glad Tidings. So let me kind of give you a little bit of a brief history, and I ought to be able to pull some images over too. Try doing this first. I have a great. Let me pull this over so you kind of have an idea what she looks like. So, this is the Elva once she was sold actually to Arnold line. Before that, she was a Glad Tidings. So you're going to see her listed as either one. Another great Bowling Green State University, great list of historical things and good thing to have on reference for looking, right? So, all right. So the Elva was originally built as Glad Tidings #4 for Captain Henry Bundy. Bundy had sailed 3 different schooners, all named Glad Tidings, and basically sailed port to port to spread the word of the gospel. He'd preach, he'd collect donations to fund his operations, he'd give out Bibles. I actually spoke with somebody that had an original Bundy Bible that they cherished and got from a family member, right? In the St. Ignace area. So she was originally built in 1889. She was the first steam-powered vessel that he actually ever had. Like I said, there were schooners before that. And he actually continued his ministry for several years. So she was in service with him from 1889 to 1896. At that time, it was sold to James Keatley, who renamed the ship Elva in the honor of his wife. And then 2 years later, she was transferred to Arnold Line in 1898. She was lengthened a few years after that. She had sailed in various routes between various ports in the island and the Straits of Mackinac. As the Arnold fleet grew and this vessel aged, she was eventually reduced down to freight-only service and was cut down to barge in 1944. And then she finally ended her service in looks like 1952. So I'm going to bring this over. You'll find this is a nice little write-up on the Great Lakes Shipwreck, the Straits of Mackinac Shipwreck Preserve. But I wanted to bring it up because it did have some photos, so I wanted to kind of go through a few of these. Looks like this one they probably took from Bowling Green or private collection, because I'll get into the Feifelmans in a little bit when I talk a little bit more about. You can see some of her different configurations. This is what she looked like as the Glad Tidings. On the initial cut downs, right? And I'll get back to these. These are what she looks like today. I actually got some better images of that. But so I did want to kind of cover those to start. And then kind of tell you a bit about how I got interested in her. So Google Earth is a great project here. What you're seeing here are actually a partial project. I got a better updated one. These are things we've used Google Earth to find wrecks Earth that we needed to identify. Some of these we have identified. Some of them need. You can see bits and pieces of the wreck here. But what's nice about this, I can go back to when it was a low water time here. Looking for, so what we do here is look for low water time and a good day, right? It's not like that's not a good day. That's not bad. Water, let's see, 2016 here, 2016 low water. Water, good day here. Look at that, I do see bits and pieces of wrecks there, right? So anyways, these are wrecks that were identified. Google Earth, but that's neither here nor there. So let's pull back out. But that's kind of what this whole original project started as. But it does nice to kind of record here. So as I said, there's a great book out called Shipwrecks of the Great or Shipwrecks of the Straits of Mackinac, put out by the Feltners. Actually, one of the first people I got to meet was the Feltners when I got into diving in the 2000s. And I've always read a lot of the shipwreck books, and the Feltners have been, writing about shipwreck books, and as well as several other people. I've actually, through this group and doing some of this, I've got to meet some great people that I've um, grew up reading, right? So, um, kind of looking at some of the different things. In Feltner's book, they talked that she was sunk on purpose. So why did they sink her? Let's talk about that. So we talked about 52. So I'm going to break it in two parts. First, Feltner's book, let me finish that up, and I'll go to why they sunk her, right? So Feltner's book said that she was sunk off of Arch Rock somewhere in the 50s, and then she hasn't been found. Great. So why did they sink her, right? And that was in Feltner's book. Basically, I had to get rid of her, right? So we're talking 52, I think. Sorry if the dates are a little off here. 52, 54, somewhere in there. This bridge didn't exist. They were building it. And there's a groundbreaking, right? They are groundbreaking the bridge, and they thought, what better way to celebrate groundbreaking of the bridge than to light a vessel on fire in memory, right? Or in honor. Well, yeah, right. That's great. We don't do that anymore, but it was kind of, I guess, kind of neat to see something burn. But really, they had to scuttle her to get rid of her, and what better excuse than the building of the Mackinac Bridge? It's kind of how that worked out. But um, also, the permit told me how deep she was, right? So the research I did kind of got me started. I knew her depth. So in her depth, and that she was somewhere on the east side of the island. This was my original search grid. I also said, you know what? He could be depth-wise somewhere around here. And then I started doing a little more research, and I ran across one that was kind of interesting from a famous news article that was a history article, a little bit older, um, and it was about Aunt Jane Goodrow. And you can probably find that listed, if you just do Aunt Jane Goodrow, Glad Tidings, Elva, you'll probably find that. So, but in there, I read that she actually watched it burn from her home. And, why would she watch it burn and who was she? So, Aunt Jane Goodrow was actually the captain's of the Elva's wife. He had since passed away, um, but she was still alive, and it said that she watched the Elva burn through her binoculars, much like she used to watch her husband sailing from the island back home. And he would have either had to have gone this way or this way. And there's reasons why he would have gone both ways, right? He could have been over here, and backside of the island. The island has what we call British landings. There it is, the docking spot. It didn't look just like that back in the 50s, but there was still a dock back there. And generally, if they're going to the harbor, they went this way. But they would go this back route if the weather was bad because it provided them shelter, right? Um, or, like I said, the Glad Tidings under Goodrow, the Elva, I should say, under Goodrow, used to hit towns along through here. You saw it said U.S. Mail on one of those images. So he used to actually pilot her all the way up, far as Sault Ste. Marie, from my understanding. I think she went past the Sioux. But that was her service before later years getting cut down, right? So if she lived here in St. Ignace, if it burnt here, how could she watch it, right? So that's the reason I added this one in. I did know, though, the reporters or columnists of the time used to take a lot of liberty in their storytelling. Um, so at that point, I said, okay, I got these. Let's do a little bit more research. And I did get lucky. I did reach out. I knew the Feifelmans were involved in the very beginning of Arnold Line. So I reached out. I knew Mackinac Island. Reached out to both Tom and Ed, and I believe out to Ed first, and he got me in touch with Tom. But anyways, I think it was Tom that actually, sorry, I believe it was Ed that actually towed her out there. Um, and I apologize, not 100% remembering which was which, but I do believe it was Ed that towed her out there. So I'm like, great, I've got somebody that actually towed her out there. So that sure made my research a lot easier, right? So I actually uh, got a hold of him and said, look, this is where I am searching. Can you tell me a little bit about her? I was told you actually towed her out there. I brought this up because I wanted to show Noah, right? And so I sent Ed basically. I basically sent Ed this search grid with this one and this one. But I told him, I said, I was pretty sure it's in here. And he even asked me why I even included this one. I told him that story. He laughed, right? He said, yeah, down here, you're not going to find it. He goes, but you'll find it in this one. I said, all right, great. Thank you. He goes, but if you want to find it a little faster, he goes, see that spot in the chart that's only 15 feet? I said, yeah. She was marked, or her permit, I think, said 120 feet deep. So she actually sits in line between this 149 and that 15. So that's where she sits today. He goes, it's going to be up closer to that. So I, of course, kind of redrew my chart and was already there. That was it. And I heard somebody else might be looking for her, trying to find her. But I was injured. I had a foot injury, unfortunately. So I couldn't go look for her right away. So that kind of brings in the rest of the story, which was Dusty Klifman, one of my friends, or Klifman, sorry, one of my friends. And through him, I've met a couple other friends too, but he is also friends with Bernie Hellstrom. They basically called me up, or Dusty did, and said, do you think you can find her and how long will it take? I said, positive I can find her. I said, I bet you we can find her in a day's searching, maybe two. He goes, are you positive? And I go, well, um, positive as I can be, right? But not, but not 100%. But I said, I'm relatively sure, yeah, we should be able to find her without too much trouble. I said, 2 days tops, one day for sure. One day most likely, 2 days probably tops. He goes, good. He goes, how's the foot doing? I goes, well, she's still injured, but getting around some by then. I'm gonna apologize because you're gonna see probably some foot injury either way on each side. You can see I kind of had it wrapped up there, and in the end, they took out. Um, actually, here they took out some of my foot. Right. I'll try not to do it in a way they couldn't see. So this is me. If you guys don't know who I am, that's me. Little overweight still. Like I said, 2 years of fighting a foot injury. I was still injured at this time, but Dusty said, "Come on." We went out on his boat with my numbers, my coordinates, because I couldn't pilot my own boat at that time. I do keep a boat in the harbor, Mac, and I can show you that here in a little bit. So if you want to know where the Elva is, copy those numbers down. She's listed in other places, but those are now the current numbers. There's Dusty getting ready to dive on her, right? This was after we found her, after we put the ROV down. So let me go here first. So we made this pass up this way, made this turn. No, actually, I apologize. We did that before the turn. We actually, he was on the right-hand side. Yeah, so we're scanning. We actually saw this on the first pass. So very first pass. So we motored um, we launched out of Mac City, came over here. I showed him where my mooring is, which sits in this harbor, right over here. You can see, you can see the ferry traffic going in and out. This is either real early or real late because there's no boats in. Sailboat there. Nope, there's a power boat there. So, but anyways, you can see these mooring balls, right? All these little mooring balls. So, sidetrack there. I keep my sailboat there, so this is right in my backyard. If you're ever diving, there's a wreck over here. It's about here. It's called the Mackinac Island Harbor Wreck. About 30 foot of water. Um, it sits right about. You drop anchor and back in towards Raleigh, you'll go right over top of it. So it sits right about there. Another wreck and debris sits all scattered through here and in some of the buildings up here in the town. That's called Peshtigo. This is Mission Point, or sometimes referred to as Peshtigo Point because of the wreck of the Peshtigo. So we'll get back to here. Let me bring back up this. So we made this run over and started our search scan here. Lo and behold, in that first pass, what do we see? That image there. That image, we decided to do a down scan and did a circle. So we're up here now, and now we're coming at it in a circle, a concentric circle, find exactly where she was. And we found her. So we sent down ROV. And the ROV did we did some scanning with the ROV. And that footage is available. I thought I had a picture of Dusty's ROV here, but I don't. So Dusty suited up, went down and took pictures. So Dusty died a rebreather. So he could spend as much time as he wanted down there. So these are the very first pictures. As far as I know, it's the first pictures and possibly the first time she'd been seen since 1952 when she went down. Dusty for these images. Blue Eyes Below, Dusty Klifman. Definitely check out his site. Issue there, so you can see I wasn't lying about the foot. But that's what she looks like now, all burned out. So that's basically how we go about finding shipwreck. A large part of it's research. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And there's my sailboat. So right around that corner is that wreck. All right, so I'm going to close that out. And that's basically, how we go about finding a wreck. So I said that this one here, the other one I'm searching for is the, I may cover this, I don't know, filming this twice, but if I already covered it, I apologize, guys. The other one for this one here is a search grid that from friends of mine have already searched for me. They were able to search this year. It was a possible spot for the welcome. That's what I was hoping we'd find there. It wasn't there. The welcome may have either wintered here. The story I have is she wintered most likely here, and she was taken to deep water and scuttled because she was beyond repair. There's also some stories saying that she may have foundered in a storm somewhere between St. Helena Island and here, anywhere in here. And there's some scans I'm hoping for. The government's done that I would like to see that could have her in there. And then the other spot they went through, Duncan Bay. Duncan Bay was their area back then. Sheboygan, the city wasn't here. The city was actually down here, Duncan Bay. Duncan Bay now has its own boatyard, and there's some wrecks in Duncan Bay. See? Actually, this one is that's a glass bottom boat going over top of one of the wrecks. So, but guys, that's how I do some of my research and how I found the Elva.